On this episode of the Rock Down South podcast, we sit down with rock band True Villains. If you guys enjoy 70s or 80s rock fused with a modern rock sound, you definitely need to check out these guys. We hope you all enjoy. Let's go. Welcome to the Rock Down South podcast. Thank you so much for listening to the show today. I'm Mark, and my friends and I created this podcast to focus exclusively on music interviews we do. We hope you all enjoy this interview Joe and I did with rock band True Villains. We chat with Tim, Matt, Greg, and Beau from the band, and they discuss how they started up the group, their brand new single Dig Your Grave, and what it was like working with legendary rock producer Nick Raskulinecz. Their music absolutely rocks, and I definitely think they're going to make a big splash in the rock scene. We even have a couple of live songs included in this podcast towards the end, just so you guys can get a sample of what they sound like live. You won't be disappointed. So without further ado, here's the interview. What's up, boys? How we doing today?
Great. Doing good.
How you doing?
Doing good. Well, awesome. Before we kind of jump into things, why don't we do a quick round of introductions for you guys?
My name's Tim. I'm the guitarist in the band.
I'm Greg. I'm the keyboard player.
I'm Beau. I'm the vocalist.
I'm Matt. I'm the drummer. Barry's not here, unfortunately. He's here in spirit.
Barry on bass, if you will.
Well, we'll keep Barry in our thoughts. All right. So Nashville, I talked to a lot of country guys on this podcast, a lot of rock guys as well, but a lot of country guys. And obviously Nashville is traditionally known as being the country capital for music. Tell us why you guys called Nashville your home, and maybe a little background on how you guys started up.
Well, I actually had met Matt, the drummer. We met when we were both living in Los Angeles. We met when we were attending Musicians Institute. And for me, he's born and raised there. But for me personally, I couldn't afford to stay there, and there was not enough work, and I knew more people in Nashville. So that's kind of why I wound up here. And several of us worked in the country touring industry and, doing that whole thing. And that's kind of how we all met. And then I'll let Matt take over from there.
Yeah. And then I guess we all kind of got sick of doing that and playing other people's music. And Tim brought up the idea of we don't really want to do this. We want to do our own thing. And so that kind of birthed the original idea of the band. And then we started jamming and writing songs. And that's just more fulfilling to us. Nothing, I'm not talking down on anybody that plays other people's music. That's it's fun to do, but just for us personally, we like to be more on the creative side and create something and play our own type of music, if that makes sense.
That certainly makes sense. Can you give us a little bit more history on you guys? I know you guys have been out for a few years now, and was it 2018 when you guys kind of fully formed?
Well, we were jamming in 2016. I have an old picture with our original singer from 2016.
Yeah, that's true.
And
I try to forget about that.
We had a couple lineup changes, but 2016 is when we started getting together and writing. And then throughout the years, we added Beau and Greg, and it's just really taken off from there because when the chemistry's there and you get the right people and the people you're supposed to be working with, I think it's when you really get something special. And so we've definitely been very stoked on what we've been creating currently with the current lineup.
The critics don't even acknowledge the days before Beau and I.
Those days aren't real.
Yeah.
They don't count.
We actually, a fun fact, we met Beau on Craigslist.
Oh, wow. I think I may have heard something about that.
It was a misconnection.
Saw you at a gas station.
I saw you, yeah.
Nice. Hey, so you guys got the new single, Dig Your Grave. Great rock tune. Tell us a bit about the track and how that came together.
So we got a storage unit here in Nashville, and we'll get together at a rehearsal space and we just jam, write songs. And then when we find the ones that we really like, we'll go into the studio. So we had Nick Raskulinecz produce this one. And this is our third single that we've done with him.
It's one of our favorites. We think that it's maybe the best example of combining the heaviness and rawness of what we were doing previously, the rock stuff, with sort of a more pop kind of sensible, melodic approach. So we're hoping that comes through to the listeners.
Yeah, it's a great song. So you got a couple of singles out there. Is the plan to put together a full-length album or put an EP out?
We don't really know at this point. I mean, at this point, we're just kind of creating music and putting it out there. And if we can put together enough songs to put out a full length, yeah, totally. We'd love to put a full length out. But I think the music industry is changing in the way that people's attention span is very short. And so people don't typically listen to full albums. So that seems like almost a waste of energy and money to put a full length out. So I think just kind of adapting to the way the music industry is going right now and just releasing singles and then EPs. And then, you know, if we can get enough people listening to what we're doing, then totally we'd love to put a full length album out in the future.
You know, a lot of people are not really listening and buying full-length albums anymore. So I guess putting out the singles out there is kind of a good approach these days right now.
Yeah, it just makes more sense right now with what's going on in the music industry and the way people consume music.
Now, what about any touring plans? You guys looking at doing any touring anytime this year or next year?
We wish, man.
Yeah, that kind of whole big wrench got thrown into that plan.
Summer 2025.
Yeah. Mark the calendar.
We've got a couple original shows here in town that we're doing. And then we've got one motorcycle event on the calendar that hasn't been released yet. And that's kind of all we've gotten down so far.
Yeah, hoping to work on some more throughout, you know, summer and fall this year.
Cool.
Fantastic. Well, hopefully you guys, you know, come 2022 are definitely on big name tour with a major act going across the country. I'd love to see that.
I think that's definitely the plan.
The last tour we did was with Steel Panther shortly before I guess we all got put out of work.
Wow. I've never heard of them. Are they cool?
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure. Are you being sarcastic?
I definitely know who Steel Panther is.
Oh, okay. We're like, how do you answer that question? Like,
He's joking. That's his favorite band of all time, I think.
We were just matching his sarcasm with our own sarcasm.
yeah.
What was it like playing with Steel Panther?
It was great.
Very eventful.
Yeah.
Like every night was, you know, you don't know what you're in for. So that made it definitely, you know, every day was a different adventure. That's for sure.
Yeah, they definitely bring it every night. I've probably seen them, man, what do I want to say, 6 times, and they don't disappoint. Like any time I've seen them play, I'm sure they probably kept you on your toes live.
Yeah, they called us out a couple times on stage.
Yeah.
No, but they were super hospitable and
Very nice.
You know, for like a band that they, you know, don't need to care about. You know, they were really nice to us and gave us advice.
So what kind of sound and feel are you guys going with for this band? I know it's obvious that you guys have 70s and 80s rock influences in there, which I totally love, but what was kind of like that idea when you guys are trying to get your band together and the music?
When somebody asks what we sound like, I like to say it's like modern classic rock, but not throwback kind of stuff. It's not like Five Finger Death Punch, but it's also not like Greta Van Fleet or Dirty Honey or a band like that. You know?
I think the influences in everybody in this band, like the bands that we all listen to on our free time, is so vast that like we bring all that to the table when we write. Because like we have songs, I mean, obviously we haven't released it, but we have songs that sound way off to right field or way off to left field. And it's kind of just like we just write songs that we like. And then when we get into the studio, we try and figure out like, okay, how do we package this as a True Villains song? You know, and with somebody like Beau, it's always going to sound like True Villains because it's kind of an unmistakable voice. So that kind of is the glue that holds it all together.
So you guys found Beau on Craigslist.
Yeah.
What were you looking for when you posted that Craigslist ad, and did you get what you were looking for, I guess?
Well, that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
Well, to give you a long story, I'll summarize it. We were jamming with a singer for a while, and he's a great guy. He's a talented guy. And we ended up, you know, booking our first show ever with him. And it just did not go well at all for, you know, various reasons. And that night, I personally remember being very discouraged because I've been trying to like put this together for a while. And I just like put an ad up on Craigslist as like a Hail Mary. And then Beau ended up answering it a few days later. And he was living in Minnesota at the time. And we had a little like FaceTime meeting. And he was basically like, yeah, you guys are cool. I guess I'll move down there. So that's pretty much how that went.
So Beau, you just got in your car and drove to Nashville and crashed at somebody's pad or what?
Yeah, I just loaded up my stuff and then I went to Tim's and got there late at night and I just crashed there for a couple days till I got on my feet.
He slept on the couch for a while.
What were you looking on Craigslist for, Beau?
I was just looking for a couch, and then I stumbled upon an ad.
Espresso machines. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking for a band that like fit my vibe and were serious about taking it to the next level, like going all out, not just somebody that was trying to move faster and be more serious about it.
Now, Beau, did you do cover tunes before? I think I read in a previous interview that you may have been doing some cover tunes with a cover band or tribute. I'm not sure.
Oh yeah, I've been in all kinds of cover bands since I was like 16.
It was mostly Duran Duran covers.
Was it really Duran Duran, or were you doing something like a Motley Crue or a Poison
Duran
tribute?
I was in mostly all rock cover bands. It wasn't like specifically one genre. I kind of was in different kinds of bands. Like one did everything, like a bunch of Red Hot Chili Peppers, or we would play Audio Slave, but we'd also do 80s stuff like Guns N' Roses and Motley Crue, and it was kind of variety.
Oh, cool. So let's talk a little bit more about rock music. You know, me and Joe, we definitely listen to a wide variety, from classic rock to heavy metal to 80s rock, modern rock. So let me ask all you guys, and you guys can, chime in one at a time. What do you guys like to listen to, and what are you guys listening to lately? So probably it's a couple questions there. What do you traditionally like to listen to? And then lately, what's kind of coming up on those playlists?
Personally, this is Tim, by the way. I listen to a huge variety of stuff. Some of my favorite bands, if I had to list four, would be like Metallica, Guns N' Roses, Led Zeppelin, Black Crowes. But I'm all over the place, listening to a lot of pop music and a lot of like indie rock and singer-songwriter kind of stuff. But lately, I've actually been listening to this band called Hot Water Music. If anyone knows who they are?
No.
But dude, I was actually talking to someone because I remember this one song from an old motocross video that I used to wear out when I was a kid, and they had a song in it. And then like I recently just stumbled upon it again, but they're actually super cool. So I've kind of been listening to some random stuff like that.
This is Greg, the keyboardist. I mostly listen to like the Beatles and NBA radio.
Right. This is Beau. I like a variety of music, like pretty much everybody does. But I've been listening to Dinosaur Pile Up a lot lately and Broken Love.
Okay.
This is Matt. I kind of grew up like that metalhead kid. I was really into like European like death metal stuff, and then you get really burnt out on that when you listen to that all the time. So I started listening to a lot more like pop music, and recently Beartooth. I listen to a lot of Beartooth. I think they've been killing it. Who else? There's a band called The Strike. They're like a super poppy band that I've been checking out a bunch too. So those are probably the two that I've listened to the most recently.
I'll have to check out some of those names. You guys threw out a few that I've never heard of. So that's kind of cool. But what about something, if you guys want to get like really aggressive, like if you're at the gym or something,
Lamb of God.
Something that'll pump you up.
Yeah.
What is it going to be?
Children of Bodom or Lamb of God. That's like my go-to.
I've been liking the Architect stuff lately.
Pass.
You can say techno if you want. It's okay.
Sandstorm.
More Duran Duran.
Rage Against the Machine, maybe.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I would probably say Lamb of God or Metallica, something like that. Yeah, I've been listening to a lot of Avenged Sevenfold lately.
Actually,
that gets me pretty hyped.
Pantera is also a really good go-to.
Fair.
Like if you're trying to like really go for it, Pantera.
Throw a dumbbell at the mirror.
But yeah, that's exactly how you like rip your muscle. Is like listening to Pantera.
So what was it like working with Nick Raskulinecz? I know he is behind Foo Fighters. He's done a lot of stuff with Hailstorm, Korn, I think even Stone Sour and some other guys like Evanescence.
Well, I mean, I think intimidating was the first thing that like I felt like going into a room with somebody like that, because he's worked with like some of my favorite drummers, and it's like to have somebody watch you play that's watched some of your favorite drummers play, you're kind of ultimately just like, oh man, like there's no way I'm going to measure up to like the people that he's worked with before. But you like when you get into a room with him, he's such like a lovable person, and he's so fun to work with that went away the first day. He was super welcoming, super nice, and I think it helps that like he likes what we do and just wants to help and make our songs even better. And so that definitely the mood switched definitely the first day. We're like, okay, like this is gonna be fun. This is gonna be an awesome experience. So for me personally, that's how it was for me. I don't know if anybody else wants to.
This is Beau. I'd say the same kind of thing. I thought it was going to be a lot more serious just because of all these big bands that he's worked with. You know, he's like a big guy in the rock industry. But then when we first met him, he immediately like got up and started playing air guitar and air drums and trying to like step on Tim's pedal board, just like in your face, rocking out. And I thought he was just going to be sitting at this chair, like taking notes. We had laid a notebook out for him with a pen and all this stuff, but it was nothing like that.
Yeah, he's
in a good way.
He's got a big personality, but he's very lovable and he's really fun and funny. And it was just a real pleasure to work with him. And we can't wait to get back into the studio with him soon. He just basically encouraged us and helped us identify the areas in our songs and in our music where we could kind of trim a little bit of the fat or the unnecessary elements, just so we could kind of make the point of the song more clear. And I think he did a really good job of that.
Yeah, he's very good at like putting you at ease and getting like your best performance because you're relaxed.
Yeah, it's not like a typical Nashville session, which a lot of the session guys here are used to. Like, you know, you got to cut stuff in 1 or 2 takes.
Yeah, there's like a revolver to your head. Like you better play it right now.
Even with vocals, I would say that it was very relaxed because he would try to get me to sing in a more relaxed voice. He'd be like, "Oh, that's a little too distorted. Just like sing it clearer."
Yeah,
and that was probably the most common thing that was said. So it was more like just do what you do naturally without pushing too much.
He also forced Beau to take maybe more breaks than Beau would have even wanted. Like I remember there were times where Beau was like, I can give you some more takes, and he was like, no, like step out of the booth, drink some water, like, you know, let's take a break and we'll get back in 15 minutes or something.
So I got a question back for you on touring. So do you have a worst show that you ever played? Anything that comes to mind, like a bad performance or a bad crowd or anything like that, or a weird venue you played at?
I'd say our very first show was the worst show we've ever played.
Collectively as a band, we probably all have individual stories. That one show we played in that winery was pretty awkward.
Oh yeah, it was like we had to be really quiet. It's like it's really hard for a rock band to be really quiet. It doesn't really.
In our defense, it was a motorcycle rally that they booked us at.
And they put us in a glass room.
Yeah, in the winery.
In a winery, yeah. And it was like, this is not going to work.
I remember asking the lady, I was like, you did look at what kind of band we are, right?
Yeah.
Everybody was like seated and dressed kind of nice.
Yeah. Kind of like a Spinal Tap moment.
People were just like scooting their tables back further and further
Yeah.
from the stage.
Yeah. By the end of it, it was just us and the bartender.
But she's still a fan though. So
yeah, she ended up being a massive fan. She was like, hell yeah.
We played that show in Boone. We set up the fire alarm.
Yeah, we did.
We forgot about that.
With the smoke machines.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
I can't imagine you guys playing at a winery. That's kind of wild.
Yeah, it was something. The lady was like, well, I mean, if you don't play, you don't get paid. So we were like, all right.
Here we go. Yeah.
I remember we played War Pigs at that
Oh,
Oh, that's too funny. All right. And now is the time where our audience gets to listen to some live music by these guys. So this first live track is titled Some of Your Lovin'. Hope you all enjoy it. That song absolutely rocked. And now for the last track. This one is called Electric Blue. Here we go. Those guys sound great live. I cannot wait to see them live soon. Now, back to the rest of the interview. So these next three questions are what we close with and ask everyone. So first question, What would you tell your 21-year-old self? First thing that comes to mind.
Stop drinking.
Yeah, that's good. I think we're all gonna go with that one.
I wasn't drinking at all.
What would I tell my 21-year-old self? Go to law school.
Stop pursuing the music career. Maybe just chill out a little bit, like
Go on a diet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's gonna suck no matter how hard you work, so
yeah.
enjoy your
Enjoy
life.
it. Yeah, exactly. That's great. I love that.
So a lot of you guys talked about stop drinking. I'm assuming that maybe you still drink, and if you do, what are you drinking lately these days?
Always tequila.
Yeah, tequila, old fashions. I'm more into the craft cocktail things nowadays and Blue Moons.
I'm a Miller Lite and whiskey guy.
Anything.
If it's alcoholic.
Oh, Doyle's.
Oh, Doyle's, yeah. Yeah. Sometimes I chug my mouthwash.
So as you guys know, this is the Rock Down South podcast. So here's a question. And you may want to think about this for a second, or you may just want to shout a few things out. But what is something that you love about the South?
I love that my family lives here. Because if my family didn't, this is Greg. I'm from North Carolina. If my family didn't live in North Carolina, I'm not sure that I would be here where I am. Because I'm somewhere where I'm close enough that I can visit, but that's pretty much what ties me to the South.
I'm from Minnesota, so it gets really cold there. So I enjoy the warm weather here, especially when they just had that snowstorm in Minnesota. I think it was like -30 with the wind chill. And here it was like, I don't know, 20s. Yeah, people were complaining that this is nothing.
This is Tim. I'm originally from New York. I love that people are super chill down here. I like the weather. It's particularly in Nashville. I love the music community and just, how tight knit it kind of is. And, some of the food. Really lacking on the Italian food, though. They really got to step their game up on that front, but there's some great food down here.
I'm from, I moved here from Los Angeles. And so I think the biggest thing that I appreciate is definitely the slower pace. Because everything in Los Angeles is fast, 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 fast. And in the South, I feel like people are a lot more relaxed, and we get there when we get there. So that's what I like about it here.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for being a part of the podcast today. Can you tell people where they can find and connect with you guys online? And just let us know anything you got in the works that people should know about.
You can find us on pretty much all social media platforms at True Villains Nashville. And our website is that as well. So Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, we're just kind of getting into that. And we've got a music video that's going to be coming out and more music.
Thank you so much for listening to the show today. We hope you all enjoyed this episode. Joe and I had a fantastic time chatting with those guys. They actually ran and played a live show just right after that interview wrapped up. Those guys absolutely rock. Make sure to check out their new single, Dig Your Grave, from True Villains on your preferred music streaming platform, and follow them on all their social media pages. Check out all our content at rockdownsouth.com and follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter for latest updates. And as always, the views and opinions expressed by our guests on the podcast are theirs and don't necessarily reflect our own. We are your hosts, Mark and Joe, and you've been listening to the Rock Down South podcast. See y'all next time.